My heart broke reading this story. How could a father be so cruel? But is the marriage with that cold man the end, or just the beginning of an unexpected change? Elena, 26 years old, a kind and intelligent girl, but born into a poor family. She always tries to overcome difficulties in life, but her family situation drags her into a harsh life. Elena's father, a man who used to be the pride of the family, is now just a shadow of himself. He has fallen into gambling and drinking, losing everything he once had, from a stable job to family relationships. Elena is his only daughter, and she has suffered a lot in her growing up years. Despite her family's poverty, Elena was always a dutiful daughter, never blaming her father but silently taking care of him. She worked long hours at a nearby coffee shop, trying to earn money to support herself and her father. She dreamed of a different future, a life no longer constrained by poverty, where she could pursue her passion for studying and establish a stable job. However, everything changed when Elena's father fell into debt. He had borrowed money from gamblers and gangsters to support his bad habit, and now his life was in danger if he didn't pay it back. Not only did the lenders threaten to beat him up, but they also began to seize what was left of the house, from the most valuable possessions to the most worthless. Elena, unable to sit idly by and watch her father suffer, tried everything to save him from danger. She sold household items, borrowed money from friends, but it was still not enough. She felt hopeless, unable to do anything more to save her father from imminent death. However, one evening, when her father went to a moneylender to ask for more time, she overheard a conversation between her father and a strange man. Adrian Knight, a cold billionaire, owner of a large corporation, was the one behind this deal. Adrian offered to pay off all the debts that Elena's father owed, but on one condition: Elena would have to become his wife within a year, signing an official marriage contract. Having no other choice, her grandfather agreed to this condition as a last resort to save his life. With a broken heart and tears in her eyes, Elena couldn't believe what she had just heard. She couldn't imagine marrying a complete stranger, someone she only knew by his reputation in the business world. Adrian Knight was a billionaire known for his cold, cruel, and emotionless appearance. He lived in a world of luxury and power, where everything could be bought with money. She wondered, could she live in such a world where love didn't exist and people only saw each other as objects to be exchanged? But the situation left her no choice. She knew that if she refused, her father would be pursued by the moneylenders, and what was left of her family would be completely destroyed. Elena was at a major crossroads in her life, where her pride and love for her father clashed. She had no choice but to sign a one-year marriage contract. Elena's emotions were a combination of shock, pain, and disappointment. She felt like a commodity being traded, with no value other than to serve the rich life of others. The feeling of betrayal from her own family made Elena collapse. But in that moment, she could only swallow her pain and accept her fate. Her silence was not because she did not feel it, but because she had no other choice. Elena doesn't know that this marriage will be more than just a financial deal, but will change her life forever. What she doesn't know about Adrian Knight and the challenges that lie ahead will make her realize that there are things in this life that are unpredictable. And no one can predict that a cold marriage contract can lead them to deeper emotions than she could have imagined. Elena felt nothing but loneliness after her marriage began. She was married to Adrian, a man who was not only rich but also extremely cold and cruel. During the first days of living together in a luxurious villa, she realized that she was nothing more than a decoration in a big house full of shells. Adrian made his conditions clear from the moment she entered his life. No demands for affection, no interference in each other's personal lives. Elena was not someone who could easily accept loneliness, but she understood that in this situation, she had no other choice. Her life was a hazy journey, with large villas, luxurious meals, and beautiful paintings on the walls. But inside it lacked a feeling of love. Everything seemed to be a perfect shell, but it was extremely cold. This situation makes Elena feel like she is imprisoned in a luxurious house without any connection with her husband. Adrian, 38 years old, is a man who seems to have no heart. A ruthless CEO, he does not believe in love anymore. especially after being betrayed in the past. He lives in resentment and dissatisfaction with women because of emotional wounds that have never healed. He only sees this marriage as a transaction, with no room for love or any emotional connection. Meanwhile, Elena, despite being in a loveless marriage, still did not want to give up all hope. She realized that no matter how cold and indifferent Adrian was to her, she still had to live, to find meaning in her life. Although he did not ask for her affection, she still could not help but see the good points in him, the things he had hidden deep inside. She did not question or protest his coldness, but only silently observed and helped the people in the villa, the people who worked hard and quietly served the family. This situation lasted for weeks with no change. Elena still lived in the big mansion, facing loneliness and alienation from Adrian. However, she did not want to be dragged into despair. Every day she tried to make her life more meaningful, even if it was just a small act. But there was one special moment, a moment that Elena could not have expected, that changed everything. One rainy afternoon when the rain poured down, Elena saw an injured dog lying under a large tree in the garden. Without hesitation, she immediately ran over and hugged it, bringing it into the house to take care of it. Despite the heavy rain and cold wind, she still patiently treated it, stroking it and wiping its wounds with her hands. Adrian, who had never paid much attention to Elena's actions, happened to see that scene from the window of his study. At that moment, he couldn't help but feel a strange vibration. This was the first time he saw Elena genuinely care about another being besides herself. Her attentive care and gentleness in her actions made him start to pay attention. Something in Adrian's heart stirred, a feeling he hadn't experienced since he was hurt in the past. He didn't understand why he felt that way, but that moment made him question himself and his wife, who he had ignored all this time. Elena was unaware of Adrian's observation, but she continued to care for the dog with all the love and compassion she had. To her, it was just a small act, a way to help a small creature in need. But to Adrian, it was the first moment in a long time that he realized that Elena was more than just a wife in a loveless marriage. She had a warm and loving heart, something that he couldn't help but notice. The cold autumn wind blew through the high glass windows of Adrian's villa, but Elena's heart felt strangely warm. During the days of living in a contract marriage with this seemingly heartless man, she had gotten used to his cold silence, razor-sharp eyes, and cruel distance. But recently, everything had changed. He began to notice the way she frowned when she was tired, gently reminding her to dress warmly and leaving a cup of hot tea on the table when she read late at night. No explanation, no embellishment, but it was those little things that made her heart flutter. Elena didn't know when she started waiting for the sound of his footsteps returning home every night. Every time Adrian's eyes lingered on her for more than a second, she felt her heart beat suffocatingly fast. Adrian also did not expect that the girl who was forced to marry him to pay off his debt, the person who used to symbolize everything he hated, would gradually crack the ice in his heart. She did not complain, did not demand. She just lived quietly, cared quietly, and quietly reminded him that there was a time when he knew how to love. One night, while Adrian was away on a short business trip, a small fire broke out at home. A maid accidentally set fire to the kitchen curtains. While everyone was panicking, Elena rushed in and pulled the woman out of the smoke. She passed out shortly after from inhaling too much smoke. When Adrian received the news, he immediately dropped everything and ran back. The flight that night felt like a century. He had always thought he didn't care about Elena, that she was just a contractual obligation. But the moment he received the call, his heart felt like it was falling into an endless void. Elena lay motionless on the hospital bed, her face pale, her eyelashes half closed. Adrian sat beside her, holding her hand. That small hand now as cold as he had been to her. "You're so stupid," he whispered, his voice choked. "Why risk your life for others? Do you know, I've never been afraid of losing anything until today?" A tear fell onto the back of Elena's hand. "I thought I had no heart, Elena, but you reminded me what love felt like. I was scared to face the fact that you had changed me. And now I just wish you would wake up so I could say these things while you were looking at me, not while you were lying there motionless." He leaned down and placed a kiss on her forehead, gentle as an apology. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the hospital window. Elena opened her eyes slightly. Before her was the image of Adrian sleeping beside the bed, his hands still tightly holding hers, his face, no longer cold as before, but tired, anxious, but peaceful. She blinked, and Adrian woke up with a start. "Elena!" he exclaimed, then stopped when he saw her eyes following him. "Have you been here all this time?" Her voice was hoarse but gentle. Adrian didn't answer. He just squeezed her hand, then said in a slightly trembling voice, "For the first time in my life, I know what fear is. Don't ever scare me like that again, okay?" Elena looked at him, feeling the warmth radiating from his hand that was clasping hers, and from his eyes. They were not the eyes of a cold billionaire, but of a man truly in love. In that moment she knew, beneath the ice of loneliness, Adrian was a soul slowly melting for her. The day the marriage contract expired finally arrived. Elena sat in her office, her hands trembling as she held the pen, about to sign the papers to end the marriage contract that she had endured for the past year. An indescribable feeling welled up in her heart. It was exhaustion, it was the longed-for freedom, but also regret, emotions that she never thought she would have to face. Adrian walked into the office, wearing a black suit as usual, but today there seemed to be something different in his eyes. Elena looked at him, saying nothing, but the emotions she had hidden away now rushed back. Her heart felt like it was about to jump out of her chest, remembering the past days. She had been the girl forced into this marriage, but gradually she realized one thing. Adrian was not the person she thought he was. He was not a cruel man who just wanted to take advantage of her. He had always tried, albeit very discreetly, to take care of her in his own way, and he had been the one to protect her all this time. In just a few seconds, the contract would end, and Elena didn't know how to feel. She felt relieved that she wouldn't have to continue living in this fake marriage, but at the same time, a part of her felt regretful. Adrian, the man she once thought was just a cold and selfish person, had become a part of her life, and now when they were about to part, she couldn't stop thinking about him, thinking about the moments they had spent together. Adrian placed the box on the table, a simple black velvet box, not fancy but full of meaning. He was not in a hurry, but just stood there quietly looking at her. Elena did not dare to look straight at him, just looked up at the box, her heart beating faster. "You haven't signed the divorce papers yet?" Adrian spoke, his voice cold but with a hint of warmth, a difference Elena had never noticed before. Elena reached out, took the pen, and prepared to sign. But as her eyes scanned the papers, she paused. She felt a sense of unease. "Adrian, do you really want to end this marriage?" The question came out of her mouth as a surprise, a part of her not ready to face the truth. Adrian did not answer immediately. He looked at her for a moment. His eyes were no longer cold as before, but soft and painful. He gently opened the box. Inside was the engagement ring, shining like a bright star in the dark night. He did not say anything immediately, but his hands, despite being a strong man, trembled as he held the ring. "Do you think I still need a contract to keep you by my side?" Adrian said, his voice low and full of emotion. "You are not an object I have to own, and I do not need a piece of paper to love you." He paused, looking deep into Elena's eyes, seemingly searching for something in them that he had missed before. "I need you, not because of a contract, but because I love you." These words were like a shock to Elena. She couldn't believe her ears, couldn't understand why Adrian said those words. She looked at the ring, then looked at his eyes, and then she realized that everything she had thought about Adrian was wrong. He was not a cruel person, but a man full of love. He just kept it hidden all this time. Elena felt her heart melt. She didn't realize that, although their marriage started out as forced, it was during this process that she gradually fell in love with him. Despite all the hardships and suffering, Adrian's sincerity gradually softened her heart, and she realized that she couldn't live without him. Tears couldn't help but fall down Elena's cheeks. She didn't say anything, but just sat there silently. In that moment, her feelings for Adrian surpassed all confusion and doubt. In the end, she nodded slightly, agreeing to stay not because of her father, but because she loved Adrian. They held a real wedding, a wedding without any coercion, but with true love. Everyone around could not believe this miraculous change. From a loveless marriage, now it has become the most beautiful love story they have ever witnessed. Thank you for following the story. If you love emotional and surprising stories like this, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next journey. See you in the next video. Love.